You're listening to Ignite Your Success, a podcast that inspires fitness professionals to build a strong business that enables them to serve more people and engineer the lifestyle they desire. It's Brad Shepherd here, and together with Jason Ubanowicz, we're best known for running Trainer HQ, a community of passionate and profit-hungry fitness business owners that make a massive difference in others' lives every day. Each episode will unpack for you exactly what's working and deliver best practice strategies so you can confidently grow your business and make a huge impact. Hello and welcome to another edition of Ignite Your Success podcast. And today I'm joined by Mr. Phillip Di Bella, known as the Coffee King here in Brisbane, mate. So welcome, sir.
Hey, Brad, how are you?
Mate, excellent. We go back a long way, which I'll chat about shortly. But, mate, at the moment, your new venture, I'm keen to hear a little bit about it. I know small parts, but I'd love to hear a bit about Coffee Commune, how it came about and what's it all about.
Yeah, so the Coffee Commune is all about bringing the community together to collaborate, and it's a movement that's growing around the world in all industries, building ecosystems. And the whole concept is in our industry, in the coffee industry, is to bring people from all walks of life in the industry together, from a coffee enthusiast to a barista to a coffee roaster to a supplier. So anybody that supplies the coffee industry, to bring them together to do business with each other, to help accelerate their potential. It's about building efficiencies so that they become profitable, and if you're profitable, you become sustainable. And like I said, it's a trend that's going around the world in terms of all industries, where people are saying, how can I become more efficient so I can become profitable and therefore sustainable? And ecosystems are something you're going to see pop up over the next 3 to 5 years, so that it's a great way to help educate people, to bring people together, to share ideas, to get buying power, and ultimately, like I said, our brand promise, to accelerate their potential.
Mate, absolutely love it. So we've got the element of community. That's probably the big thing I hear there. But then if I'm also following you, it's like your mission in this is to be able to assist everybody else to build a better business, and be able to get what they want.
Correct. Yeah. Look, I was fortunate enough in my journey so far. I made my money quite young, and said, well, what's next? And I'm far too young to retire, and my wife will kill me if I did. And she might want to leave me if I retired. I'd be hanging around too long. But no, and I thought, well, I'm fortunate enough to be in that position where it's more of your calling. And I really get a buzz. My passions, which we explored through the first book, Alan wrote, Entrepreneurial Intelligence, we discovered that I discovered and was able to quantify that my passions are actually people, opportunity, and education. And now I understand why I feel so at home with the Coffee Commune, because I'm passionate about people, I'm passionate about opportunities, I'm passionate about education, and not a day goes by that I'm not dealing with someone, not learning something or sharing my knowledge with someone, and helping them explore their opportunity. It really is. I have to say, I said to somebody yesterday, I think the Coffee Commune is my best project yet, for that reason, that actually fulfills me and ignites the passion in me around people, opportunity, and education. Mate,
love it. So clear, so concise as well, and you can obviously hear the passion coming through your voice when you speak about it. And you obviously didn't start with the Coffee Commune because that is your current operation. Let's go back now to Di Bella Coffee. Now, especially plenty of people will be very familiar with that brand. Now, you kicked that off in 2002, if I've done my research correctly.
Correct.
And in 2014, you exited that business. And if I've got my research correct, on that day you had around about 47 million reasons to celebrate. Is that also correct?
Yeah, I did. It was actually a little bit more, which was better. But 47 was recorded. But at the end of the deal, it was closer to a 60 mil because there was other stuff that we did and obviously bonuses. But again, the money didn't matter. People said, "Did you sell because of money?" I said, "No." I was actually it didn't change my lifestyle. In terms of money. Yeah. What it did was able to allow me to focus on me personally and lose the weight that I needed to lose and get healthy. And it allowed me to focus on my family, because I was traveling 3 weeks of the month. I was 70 kilos overweight, and the only goals I was kicking was financial ones, and they're no good to you if you don't have the health and the family in order. But yeah, I started in 2002 with $5,000, which is what makes the story amazing. And exited, as they reported, 47 plus. officially after Earnout and everything, 2017. And it was a great journey, and it helped me learn a lot about me, about people. It obviously put me on the map, locally, but also Australia-wide, but internationally. I've got some great colleagues and friends all over the world. I've got businesses still over the world. It was a really full-on part of my life and journey. But when I look back at it now with fresh eyes, I go, geez, we fit in a lot in 15 years. It was like a lifetime of work in 15 years. It was, because people see what's above the line, they see the iceberg, but they don't see what's underneath it. They don't see, it's like a building. We see a beautiful building go up and we see it pretty and it's finished. But that building can't go anywhere unless the foundations are solid. And as you know yourself, dealing with businesses, the better the business looks above the line, the more work that's been put in underneath the line.
Yeah. Mate, absolutely, 100%. And now, if we could, potentially rewind the clock just for a minute, if we go right back to the, the early days back in 2002 when you kicked off. If reading through your book as well, which is a great read, by the way, if I understand correctly, you were actually living in the premises. Could you sort of rewind all the way back to that era and just tell us a bit about that part?
For sure. As we know, we've all got to make some decisions and take some risks, and as I say, get in the river. If you don't get in the river, you can't swim. And I had an apartment paid off, and I needed a premises, and the only way I could afford to buy a building would be to sell my apartment. Yeah. So I sold my apartment and bought 82 Abbotsford Road, and everyone thought I was mad. Yep. Getting rid of a personal property to buy a commercial property, which meant I had to sleep. I had to set up a bedroom upstairs, which I believe, I still don't know if it was legal or illegal, but it's probably too late to prosecute me anyway. But I had to take the risk, and can I tell you, I sold my apartment for $135,000.
Yes.
And I bought the building for $330,000.
$330,000,
And now I own 4 of them, and I can tell you, I don't know if it's fortuitous, but it was 330, 660, 1.2, and 2.4.
There you go.
Every building I bought doubled in cost. But in saying that, obviously that's probably that's worth a mint now.
Yeah.
So it ended up being a great decision. But at the time, you don't know it's a great decision, right?
And if I can jump back to 2002, right? So what age were you then?
I was 26.
26. Okay, so you had your apartment, you sold that, moved in, and then were you single then?
No, we were dating. So I was dating with my wife.
Yes.
Still my wife, thank God. And we were dating. We didn't get married till the end of 2003.
Yes.
So I was still, so we were dating. I was living on my own.
Yeah.
And of course you've got lots coming at you. You've started a new business, and you're now gone heavily into debt. So there's a lot of things to consider, and you look back, and hindsight, and that's what I say is a wonderful thing. But as you're going through it, it can feel like a bit of a a wind tunnel where everything's coming at you. And that's why I say to people now, pen and paper, sit down. That's the one thing that saved me, was always sitting down with pen and paper, and writing down and getting things out, and then even if they're not clear, they became clear.
Yes. That's awesome, man. I love it. And then how long did you live there for on site, roughly?
Officially, I married a good Italian woman, so officially until 2003, December 20.
Yeah.
I was there, and I was coming and going and stuff like that. But that was my base. That's where I had most of my stuff.
And so you started the business up on $5,000, and at that point in time, I imagine for you there was a lot of I had to go out there. I had to hustle. Like I read again in the book, you're going down there to the farmers market, setting up the coffee stall. Could you explain a little bit about some of those early days? And I guess from a lead generation and marketing point of view, what sort of things, were you doing at that point in time to try and make it happen?
Well, and I always try to put in a context so the listeners are getting something from it. A lot of people in my industry were becoming, and still do, unfortunately, are working hard to become experts in coffee. And in your industry, they might be becoming experts on the process of lifting weights,
training,
or burning.
More technically skilled.
Correct. Yeah, correct. But what made me different was I became an expert in people. I focused on the outside in. I said, I've got to know my coffee. I've got to know my product. I've got to know how to make a coffee. But I've really got to be great with people. So I went down to the farmers markets, put cups of coffee into people's hands and said, hey, do you love it? Yeah, I do. Why? I don't need to put sugar in this. It blends well with milk. A lot of other coffees are milky. So we took that and we honed in on it and said, right, people love the fact that this coffee doesn't need sugar. People love the fact this coffee blends well with milk. That becomes our story we're going to tell. Yep. So when we'd walk into cafes to try and sell wholesale, we'd go, where this product is different is you don't need as much sugar and it blends well with milk. Try it. Yeah. Great. Now, we were able to build the business from the outside in, not the inside out. And I find that a lot of people, and again, looking back and analysing it for the listeners to take something away, is that lesson number one is don't focus. You've got to be an expert in what you do. There's no doubt about it, right? You've got to know your stuff. But if you know your stuff and you're not an expert with people, you're never going to be able to connect with the person. So what we do in business is connect a person to a product or service. And if you don't know how to emotionally engage, you won't be able to connect them. And so while a lot of my colleagues in the industry, can tell you the breakdown of the molecules of a coffee bean.
Yep.
I can tell you the breakdown of what makes people choose coffee.
Yes.
Or what makes them choose your coffee. So the key is focus more on the people element and engaging with your customer and possible customers than what you do in your own, product and business, because that's the part that's going to get you emotionally connected to get the outcome you need, which is business.
Yeah, that is so good. And so back in those days, going out, like getting Di Bella coffee into cafes, all the rest of it, I imagine you were doing most of you were doing your own prospecting calls, turning up, meeting people face to face. Was that how it worked back then?
Yeah, so I had to be efficient with time. So time is the key there, right?
Pre-Facebook days, of course.
Yeah, pre-Facebook, and technology sped everything up. iPhones have sped everything up. Technology, social media sped everything up. It's a lot less to market now to get voice out there, to get your message out there. It's a lot cheaper. You just got to be a lot more strategic because there's a lot more white noise coming through. But back then, it was simple. I had to be very, very good with my time. Break down my time right. Mondays, I'm going to go and hunt for business. Tuesday, I'm going to call for orders and roast the coffee. Wednesday, I'm going to deliver the orders. Thursday, I'm going to collect money. Friday, I'm going to strategize and do a bit of, catch-up account management work. So, and I can still remember that structure now, and I was disciplined. And the number one thing I see with people in their early days of business is they breed bad habits. And the best advice I've got about bad habits is get a piece of paper and a pen, draw a vertical line, and put 1 degree to the right, put a dot and start drawing a line and see where it takes you. Bad habits, and this is what happened with me with my weight, is bad habits, day 1, don't do much. Day 2, not much. Day 3, not much. Day 4, not much. But by the time you get to day 100, day 200, that 1 degree off course has become 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees, 20 degrees. And I did it with my weight. People say, how'd you put on so much weight? I started in 2002. I was fit. I was healthy. Yeah. By the time I got to 2017, I was 77 kilos overweight. Yeah. And it was by putting on 100 grams a week. Yeah. Now, if you look at, a 15-year period of putting on 100 grams a week, even 50 grams a week, you put that weight on, you can understand why someone's 70 kilos overweight. Yeah. So stay disciplined, stay focused, and don't go that 1 degree off course, whether it's personal, professional, family, right at the beginning.
Yeah, outstanding. Great advice and so poignant for people in business as well. So transferable, and obviously something that our industry relates very well to. Going back to, again, I just love the story about where it all started. So one thing that we speak about with a lot of our clientele who are startup businesses, who are trying to build their fitness business, is I guess the concept of going without in the short term so that you can have more in the long term. And so sleeping at the warehouse, whereas you could have gone and, say, rented an apartment, you could have done a bunch of things. You didn't. You chose not to. And so that part there, could you shed a bit of light on some of the things you did in the early days with that concept in mind? Yeah,
totally. Look, and I say this, you can't have it all. And the first, and I can articulate it well now because I go back and I reflect, your life's broken down into personal, professional, and family. It doesn't matter what stage of your life you are, whether you're a kid. I do this with my 13-year-old and 11-year-old. Your life's broken down to personal, professional, family, and you can't give all 3 areas the same attention. You can't get balance, right? It's about harmony. So when I started, the priority was work. The second priority was my girlfriend at the time, which was my fiance really at the time. And the third was me. And what happened? Well, the priority number 1, I did well and I built an amazing business over, if you take a 10-year period, the business went from nothing to being the biggest in Queensland in 10 years and then started to branch out over interstate. Family was my second priority. What did I do in that 10-year period from starting? Well, I had a fiance, I got married, we had a baby in 2008. That progressed. What happened? I suffered, meaning personally, the weight suffered. You can't have it all. Now, when I came back to the apartment, when I bought that building, if I hadn't sold my property and I rented a building, then, as I got bigger, I would have had to then have a look around, find a different building, a bigger building. I might not have been able to rent next door, and my focus would have changed. So making the decisions, I made long-term decisions, but I made them today. And so long-term decision in terms of work was, right, I'm going to sell my property to buy my own property so that I control the building. I own the building. If I want to make changes to it, I can. I still don't know whether the concept's going to work. So I kept it in mind. And if it doesn't work, I can sell the building or I can rent the building out. So I made long-term decisions, but I made them in the now. I didn't try and have it all at that time. I was always working towards. So my financial goal was to have enough money to do what I want, when I want. Now, in order to have some sort of lifestyle, that's how I started the markets. So the money I was making in the business, as I got a customer number 1, customer number 2, I rolled it back into the business, and I actually lived off the money that I would make at the markets, because I did markets Saturday and I did markets Sunday.
Yep.
So I was working 7 days a week. But again, that's where the focus had to be. That's where, my focus had to be, my discipline. But I also had to have the people around me that supported that. And I was lucky that Jana was a very, very big supporter. She was working in government Monday to Friday and getting up at 3:30 in the morning on a Saturday to come and do the markets with me.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
And I told her to have Sundays off. She was still happy to come and do the markets on Sunday. And I said, no, obviously you need the one day off. So you've got to have good people around you as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And that also extends now. I actually met you and you became a client of ours, and we had the privilege of working with you now. I've got a good story. I feel like it's a good story anyway on where you placed your values at the time in terms of not frivolously spending money. So back then I built myself up, and this is when, our audience knows that I got up to charging $400 for PT sessions, and then we had our whole team at $440, and then it went $165, $135, $99, $88. And as I obviously knew of you, and I was, I had some high profile clients. I guess in my mind, I was probably thinking that, well, I'm assuming this is probably going to be my next high profile person. And as I presented the $400 rates to you, you looked at me, mate, I don't pay my lawyer this much. You go, mate, I'm not paying this to train with you. And you ended up training with one of our other trainers, which was all good. I always use that philosophy, some will, some won't. It's not my decision, right? But what I like about it is, I guess, back to the business side of it, you're going, well, at that point in time, and this was a number of years into your journey, you probably had the disposable income, but from your perspective, it's where you saw value, right?
Yeah. It is. And I think I might have added something like, if I'm going to pay you $400 an hour, you better lose the weight for me. So if only someone would pay you $1,000 an hour, right? But it is. And the story in that is it's about value, and what you see value in, someone else doesn't see value in. It doesn't mean you're not worth it, right? You are worth what you believe you're worth, but you're worth what someone's prepared to pay. And you had plenty of clients that were prepared to pay it because you were worth it. And people forget this because and this is one thing you never did. You never got arrogant about it. You've never been that type of person because you say, right, I'm not going to be for everyone, but I'm going to be for a certain type of audience. And that's why you've been successful. Other people would take that and go, well, piss this guy off. Who the hell does he think he is? Well, and then they start to change their marketing strategy, and it starts to alienate people. And the best industry that I can talk about is art. And I'm not an artist. My daughter loves art and she's very good at it. But the same canvas you would give me, the same pencils you would give me, and the same canvas you give her, and the same pencils you would give her. I draw you something, she draws you something. It takes the same amount of time. Mine's going to look like crap. Hers is going to look amazing. Yep. You're going to pay a lot more for hers than you are for mine. Why? Because you see value in that more than you see value in mine. But yet the cost was the same. Yes. And that's similar with your industry. It's all about value. What do they see value in? And it's a great point to make to people in business. Is it's not often the quality of the product, right? It's what value and everything else that comes with that product. Because at the end of the day, in your business, you're not actually lifting the weight for the client. They've got to lift it. Yep. But yet, how they lift it, whether they hurt themselves, whether it does them the benefit, whether they get the benefit out of it, whether they want to come back, whether they feel emotionally engaged, whether they're inspired to lift heavier, whatever the outcome is. Yeah. The moment that it goes tick, 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 they will pay whatever they see the value in that.
Love it. So good, so good. And hammers home the point that we love sharing with our audience. The other part that we love sharing with our people is the importance of knowing your numbers, stats and figures, all that part of it. And it's a large part of it. The fitness industry well, and we've got some, we're well connected to many colleagues in the industry. So you've seen plenty of trainers, plenty of fitness businesses and so forth. So can you shed a bit of light on how you place importance around stats, data, numbers and figures and so forth, and the importance for our crew?
Yeah, you've got to know your numbers. People say, oh, but I pay someone. No. You can pay a lawyer, but you still got to know the basic laws.
Yeah.
Lawyer's not going to tell you how to drive your car and all this sort of stuff, right? Business, same. If you're going to be in business, it doesn't matter how small or big it is, you have to have a basic understanding of numbers. You need to know the difference between, income and expenses. You need to understand fixed costs. You need to understand cost of goods. You need to understand rent. And the biggest mistake I see people do in many industries, especially the cafe industry, the money that comes in the till is not yours. The money that comes through, into your account for training is not yours until you've paid all your bills.
Yes.
And that's a basic understanding of numbers. So knowing what your rent is, knowing what your fixed costs are, what your cost of goods, whether it's providing towels for people, providing a bottle of water to each client, whatever it is, you've got to know your numbers, you've got to know your cost, and you've got to, and I say to people, build it from the bottom up, not out. So it's not, I'm charging $100 an hour or $200 an hour. It's right. I need this broken down. My client base is 100 people. My rent then per person is $20 an hour. I give every client a bottle of water at the beginning. Of a 10-pack, I give them an intro pack that costs $100. Know your numbers, because you can't spend more than what you make. And I wish politicians would listen to that. You can't spend more than what you make.
Topic for a whole other podcast, sir.
A whole week's worth of podcast, but it's something I teach my kids already. I give them. It doesn't matter how much money I give them for whatever they need. I say you bring back 20%. So the other day I gave my son $10 and he goes, you want $2 back? I said, the rules.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. And I'm just trying to teach them basic lessons of numbers. Is you've got $10, you spend $8, you keep $2. And hopefully that transfers when the numbers get bigger. My dad always said to me, plan for good in times of bad, and in times of bad, plan for good. And if you keep that model in place, so when things are going bad, you're planning for the good times. Yep. When things are going good, plan for the bad times. I've never been so conservative. I'm in the best financial position I've ever been. Yeah. But I'm so much more conservative now because I'm planning that if things, change over the next 3 to 5 years, it doesn't change my philosophy with money, which is to have enough money to do what you want when you want. And that doesn't mean I'm happy. I love driving nice cars, but I'm happy to downgrade the car. Yeah. And it's all relative. I'm happy to get rid of the cleaner. I'm happy to get rid of the pool person, the gardener. Yeah. If you can do it. And I heard on a great podcast the other day about on the Global Truth podcast, is that what people don't realize is, you look at somebody and you go, oh, that asshole's got a cleaner, versus that guy's contributing to the economy. Because for every cleaner somebody puts on, you're lifting up the productivity levels of the country. Every gardener you put on, you're lifting the productivity. Every time you're paying somebody for a service, you're employing somebody, you're giving them a job, which is increasing the productivity of the country. And so it comes back, which is a whole nother discussion of mindset. So I'm teaching the mindset of money early. People in business need to understand their numbers. They need to have a mindset around numbers. You don't have to be an expert in them, but you need to understand that. And in summary, understand that the money's not yours until you've paid all your bills.
So good. So good. Thank you, sir. It reminds me right here in this very office where we were, a number of years ago, we do up our numbers every month and all that sort of stuff. And we're paying this huge tax bill every month. And it was like, we sort of met with a little bit of resent, we're going to pay the tax again, all that sort of stuff. And then this one month, we're just like, hold on, let's just change our approach to it to go, well, hold on, what are we doing here? Well, we're contributing. What do we have? We have roads and schools and hospitals and all this stuff that we're contributing to. And as soon as we put the mantra up there, it changed the way we spoke about it. It changed our attitude towards it. And it was a big transition for us, and we pass that on to our clients.
Yeah, it's great. Look, we're up to $33 million. There you go. Me and my wife have paid our personal tax and we're 46, both 46, and 33 million we're up to. And you know what? I've got no resentment about that. What life's been good to us. Yes. What I love is the fact that we've never skimped on tax. We've never owed the taxation. We're not one of these overseas registered companies that then offshores or gets paid, tax concessions. Yeah. We've always paid our due taxes. And I say, well, we've contributed $33 million to the economy of Australia to have better roads, better schools. And there's people out there that have contributed far more. And there's people out there that should have contributed far more that have contributed far less, especially these overseas companies. But again, another discussion. But it's a great mindset. And yes. And if you can motivate your team and the people that work with you on that to say, hey, and I was lucky enough to Alan Piper, AP Eagers, Alan's passed away many years ago, became a very close friend of mine in my younger years at 17, 18, 19. And he always said, Phil, the more tax you pay, the more money you've made. Yes. So you should be happy about paying tax as long as you're doing, it's that people don't do the right thing with their money. And then when they've got to pay their tax bill, they get the shits.
Yes.
So which to me is all about mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, to go from $5,000 in a company up to $60 million, there's a big jump there. So was there throughout that was it 12 or so years,
15,
thereabouts,
about 15 years.
15 years altogether. So it obviously didn't start like that. So can you just give us a brief sort of timeline? So the first 2 to 3 years, was there a point when you were kind of struggling?
Well, the first year was the hardest, right? So
Yes.
you're a new brand, you're new to the market. Why should I buy your coffee, not somebody else's? And we flipped the model and said we're not selling coffee. What we became famous for, fast forward, and I'll do it in 5-year trunks. The first 5 years is we realised that we're not in the product business. We're not here to sell coffee because there's 2,000 other people that do.
Yep.
We've got
highly
to change
competitive market.
Correct, with people with big pockets, right?
Yep.
Internationals, multinationals with $1 million budgets in marketing. Giving stuff away left, right and centre. So what we did is we did 2 major things in the first 5 years. We learnt that it had to be a service business. So we started to focus on how we could service a customer. That changed the demographic of who we targeted, and that became an owner-operator. So we targeted an owner-operator. We went for the service side. Coffee is how we got paid. Sure, the coffee was good. It was worth coming back for. It was memorable. But we weren't the cheapest and we weren't the most expensive, but we worked with cafe owners to help their business grow. That was the first 5 years. The next 5 years, within that time, at the end of the first 5 years, we became the biggest in Queensland in what we did. Then it was time to expand, and I always say tomorrow better than today, because if you stop, everyone else catches up. We then said we're going to go interstate. Let's tackle the hardest state. Colleagues of mine would go for the easy state. I said let's tackle the hardest, which is Melbourne. Why not plunge into the river? And if we can tackle the hardest state in Melbourne, then we can go anywhere in Australia. So 2005, 2006 was Melbourne time. And can I tell you, it was like starting all over again. For the first, I was down there for 3 months for a block to do a recon and see what it was like. And the amount of no's. Your product's good, but why should we buy coffee from a Queenslander? And it hammered home the fact that we weren't selling a product, we were delivering a service. So we built and bolted on more services. So we had an in-house lawyer that would read your lease. We had internal finance person which will go through your books. We had someone in marketing that will design your menus, build your style guide. And we added all these services, and then we went into the cafe owners in Melbourne and said, right, what's your biggest problem? Staff. What about it? Training. We've got a trainer for that. But we've also got someone that can help you with your menus, with your logos. We've got somebody who can read your leases. Oh, no one's ever done this for us. What are you going to charge us? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? Well, you buy your coffee from us. Instead of paying, 18 a kilo, we'll charge you 24, but you're not paying 30. And these are the extra services that we bolt on. There's no contract. If you don't like us, then you can leave.
Yep.
Well, we started to get traction. The great thing about Melbourne is they all talk and they all hang out with other cafe owners. So 1 and 1 became 2, 2 and 2 became 4. Fast forward the next 5 years, we became the biggest in Melbourne. And then that opened up for us to go completely national. And what I learned along the way was how things compound. When you're chugging along, when you're starting your business, the mountain is huge because you're at the bottom. But once you go that 5 years and you're halfway up the mountain, and the next 5 years you're 3/4 of the way up the mountain, and then 15 years you're at the top of the mountain, and that's when I said, now it's time to sell, because there was no more mountain to climb. It's time for somebody else to take it over. And my goal of when I sold it, my aim was that they would take it internationally, because I hadn't taken that Di Bella brand internationally. So that's the why I left something in it for somebody else. And I sold it to a company that had the ability, even though they stuffed it in the end, but they had the ability to take it international. So if you truncate, the key messages became, understand that, yes, you're going to be at the bottom of that mountain, but you've got to build your foundations. It's like putting a building together. The stronger the foundations, the stronger the knowledge. Number 2, your no's define you. When somebody says no to you, ask why. So what I became a master is collecting the data and then analysing it. When someone said no, I didn't put my tail in between my legs and walk off pissed off and say, it's their loss, not mine. No, I would say why. We don't know your brand. You're not giving us a reason to change. Well, I can buy coffee from anywhere. So the no's defined us and helped us become better. We built the biggest online business at the time because I didn't want to put coffee in a supermarket. And everyone kept saying, well, I still buy from a supermarket because it's convenient. So when I kept hearing this, convenient, I said, there's an opportunity here. Without jeopardizing my brand and putting it in a supermarket, I can expand our reach. The problem I'm going to solve is I'm going to do fresh roasted coffee delivered to your door at factory prices. And within 2 years, we were turning over 150K a month with a 44% net profit online. And that came from a no. When someone said, put this product in a supermarket, I was the one that said no. I said, why won't I? Because I don't want to diminish the brand. What is the problem? Why are you not buying from me? Because you're not convenient. I can't come to you all the time. So we flipped the model, built online, stayed in line with our brand,
Yes.
and we built a very, very profitable business doing that.
Outstanding. What year was that went online?
About 2010, I think it was.
2010. And that would still be early days for people sort of, getting into that real transacting online, because in this day and age, I mean, everyone's doing it, right?
Yeah.
So back then you would have been an early adopter of that sort of style.
Yes, for sure. I mean, a lot of the young execs, but then it opened up an audience, the PAs, the EAs. So we had a funky brand. If they're drinking our coffee in the cafes, which we dominated, we became the biggest in Australia, 1,200 venues that we had our product in. If they're drinking it in the cafes, they want the same product in the office.
Yes.
So the PAs, the EAs, they were all ordering online. It was delivered. That when the delivery box arrived, they knew it was coffee because they could smell it.
Yep.
Because the moment you place the order, that's when it's roasted. And we're about to launch again under Coffee Commune. When I've done a private retail range, and it'll launch in the next few weeks. It's a private retail range. You can't buy it in any shop because we don't supply coffee to coffee shops under a brand.
Yeah.
We do it for other roasters. That's going to be a hit because people are saying, what are you doing about your coffee? And I said, I've tailored a range of products that are going to be just for retail, so just for home or office. And we're going purely online, or obviously you can visit our HQ at Bowen Hills.
Yes, so good. Stay tuned for that. Now, if we go to just thinking about that time, was there something where you were faced with some sort of adversity or some sort of tough situation? I'm sure you had plenty, but was there anything that spring to mind where you just had to look yourself in the mirror and go, mate, what am I doing here? Or can you sort of share some of that with us?
Yeah, plenty. And something that's really relevant for people once they get going. So the first hurdle people go is, they see this big mountain, say, how do I get going? Then all of a sudden they're going, and they're going hard. And this happened to me. Yep. And imagine this, when you kick off, you're the only person at the bottom of the mountain. You've just got to get yourself up the mountain.
Yep.
Then imagine you're halfway up and you need more people. So you've got a team of 5, a team of 10, doesn't matter what the number is.
Yep.
You've all of a sudden got other people that you've got to bring up the mountain with you. I found myself sprinting up the mountain, looking behind me, and everybody was way back. And that was because they weren't and didn't want to and did work at my pace. And that was okay. So the analogy there is, you got to work to your lowest common denominator. Now, and I use this as an example, the analogy of, imagine walking into a restaurant that sits 100 people but only has one chef. So 100 people sit down, their orders are taken, the chef gets bombarded with 100 orders. He's going to freak out.
Yeah.
Reverse it. You walk in, you've got 10 chefs, but you've only got one person taking orders. The chefs are never going to get the orders. So the key is you've got to make the back end meet the front end. So that when you move, you've got to move like a soccer team. You can't have the forward score 10 goals and the goalie letting in 11 goals because you don't win. Yeah. Vice versa. You can't have the goalie saving all the goals and no one scores. So the key is you've got to move as a team. Soccer is a great analogy for that. Everyone's got to move together. Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, 2 best players, arguably the best 2 players in the world right now. You can work out who's better. Doesn't matter. Neither of them have won a World Cup, because soccer is about 11 plus the reserves. It's not about one person. And what happens in a lot of organisations when they get going, and I learnt this the hard way, it was all me, because it was from 2002.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden I've got a team of 20 people and they can't keep up. And we're making mistakes left, right and centre. We're not looking at our numbers properly.
Yep.
And yet we were growing. So we nearly went broke because we were growing too quick. So we had to stop. We had to regroup. We had to look in the revision mirror. We had to gather the troops back together, and we had to focus. And that was probably around 2006 to 2008, where I said, rightio, more focus on our internal people, and then the customers will come. So we flipped the model. We were able to because we were busy. Flip the model and say, right, now we put more effort in. And I think it was 2006 where I hired my first people and culture manager.
Yeah.
And I said, I want you to focus on the development of our people internally. And the byproduct of that will be great culture.
Yeah, so good. And I imagine for you as well, even though by that stage you were well experienced in business, you'd achieved a lot. I imagine there was still a bunch of learning that you would have got at that point in time because you operated a high frequency. Yeah. Obviously, you're going hard. It sounds like you were no stranger to putting in the effort. And I guess you would have looked out with all due respect to everybody around you going, come on, guys, what's happening here?
Totally. Yeah, and so what I did, and this is something I haven't shared with anyone before, is what I did there is I was the smartest person in the room. And I always say, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. That's one of the things that you'll find that successful people continue to be successful when they adopt that mentality. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room, right? I want to be learning constantly, and it sits into one of my passions is education. And I can explain this because all of a sudden people said, oh, you started entering all these awards in 2008, 2000. So from 2008 through to even to, to of late, we were in awards, we were winning awards, we won every award you can imagine. People go, well, what's the awards about? Learning. I started to enter awards so that I was in company of people that were far greater, far better, more awesome than I was. And if I look back, actually 2005 was my first entry. And these two people are dear friends of mine, and you'll know the brands. Don May from Domino's. Yep. Right, and Jamie Ferris from Corporate Travel Management, both now good friends of mine, and I met them in 2005 through the awards. Mini Movers, Mike O'Hagan, I met him in 2006. So I can tell you amazing brands with amazing people, but the catalyst of the awards, why I entered the awards, wasn't to showboat. It was actually to surround myself with people that were far greater, far smarter, and much better at things that I was. And then in 2007, I met Luke Trichet from Apollo Motorhomes, and the list goes on. And I was in the company of great people. And these people are still friends of mine to date. And so it's funny, right? People mindset. Some people would enter awards to make themselves feel good.
Yeah, or use it as a marketing piece or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Whereas I used it to surround myself with people that were far better, far smarter, because I didn't want to be, the king in the room in my business and the smartest person in the room all the time. I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, and then I was lucky enough to be, invited to join Young Presidents Organisation, which I've been part of for the last 12, 13 years. And that's another level with amazing people from all walks of life, and it's a global group. So yeah, the key there, get nervous when you're the smartest person in the room. Surround yourself with people that have done more, achieved more, and be aspirational. Don't be jealous. Don't worry about dragging people down to pull yourself up. Get in a room, and it's great to be in a room with people that have done stuff that's far greater than you, because you learn from everybody.
Yeah, mate, so good, so good. We could keep chatting all day through all this. I want to double back and talk a little bit about lead generation, and marketing, because for our target market, so a lot of our clientele here at Trainer HQ are doing their marketing strategy in many of them a shoestring budget or no budget, and so consequently they're looking for all sorts of different strategies. So I imagine for you that was what it involved a lot of in the beginning. Yep. So could you shed a bit of light on the concept of the way you view marketing and some of the concepts that you think could be valuable for what you know of PTs in the industry?
Yeah, great. Look, this is now my area of expertise, right? I studied commerce at uni. I came out with a marketing, HR and retailing degree. They wanted to kick me out when I was at uni. I did some great stuff in the business world, and they made me an adjunct professor. So I'm now an adjunct professor in marketing and entrepreneurship. So I love sharing this with people, because in the next couple of minutes, I'll give you something that will take a year to study and learn. Marketing is the art of telling a story so compelling someone chooses you. So when you're building your marketing campaign, put that at the top. Marketing is the art of telling a story so compelling that people choose you. So therefore, to tell the story, you need to say, it needs to include, what problem am I solving, and how am I going to be relevant to the market? Now, when people say, well, what's relevant mean? If you were not in business, where will they go? Right? And that will help you differentiate what your USP is, your unique selling proposition. Yep. So what problem are you solving? And of course, you're solving lifestyle, health problems, blah, 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 yep. Feel good problems, emotional problems, but relevance. If it's not you, then who? So if it's not you, who are they going to go to? And look at now, Di Bella, they changed their philosophy. They lost half of their business because they thought that they could just produce coffee. And that wasn't what Di Bella Coffee was about. Di Bella Coffee was about supporting cafe owners to make money. There it is. There's your emotional engagement. We help cafe owners make money.
Yes.
So what story? Telling a compelling story so people choose you. Then once you work that out, then there's 3 ways that you've got to go and tell the story, which makes up your marketing plan. Owning a voice. Owning a voice is your website, your business card, anywhere you put your logo, your brand promise. I don't like the word slogan, your brand promise.
Yes.
Anywhere you put that stuff that shows your name, who you are, what you're doing, that's owning a voice. The second is buying a voice, and that is advertising. So marketing and advertising are completely different. Advertising is paying for a voice, right? Which is the second part of marketing. So that's your social media, your radio ads, your print media, anything you choose to do. Back in my day, there wasn't social media. Social media was later, right? So buying the voice was a lot more expensive. It's a lot cheaper now to buy the voice, and I'll get back to the financial side in a minute. The third one is earning a voice. Earning a voice is third-party endorsement. Earning a voice is somebody else telling your story for you. That's when you know you have achieved marketing reach. That's when you know you've achieved emotional engagement. That's when you know that people are choosing you because they're telling others. That's your marketing plan. Telling a story. So what is your message so compelling that people choose you? what's your plan, which is around what am I going to do around owning a voice? Okay, website, business cards, vehicles, yada, yada, yada. What's my budget on that? Buying a voice is your advertising, right? I'm going to use social media first. I'm going to use print media next. I'm going to use third-party referrals, kickbacks. Anything you're handing money over is buying a voice, right? And then the third party is, how are you going to get people to tell your story for you, right? And to sum it up, Di Bella Coffee went from nothing to the biggest in the country at growing at a rate of knots. Our turnover when I exited was close to $40 million. My marketing budget, my complete marketing budget was $200,000. Now, if you follow bullshit templates and numbers, they tell you that you should be spending 10% of your turnover. You don't need to spend 10% of your turnover. A simple rule of thumb, if you're not getting a 10 times return for every dollar, then you're doing something wrong. If you're not getting a 10 times return for every dollar you put in, you are putting money in the wrong area of owning a voice, buying a voice, or earning it. So follow that template, because what you'll find is a lot of people aren't even doing all three. They're not even worried about, earning a voice. They're worried about, okay, what does my website look like and where am I spending my money? Well, what programs have you got in place to get people to tell other stories for you? How are you doing member-to-member introductions? Like when we do meet and mingles or introductions, we have half the room with current customers, half the room with prospective customers. So they're telling our story for us. Simple strategy like that. So when you're approaching a new client, right, it's not getting you to approach it, getting someone that knows them, that already trains with you to approach that client. To say, hey, come and bring them with me. Or do you have a program in place that says, hey, one day a month I want you to bring somebody new to come and train, no cost. So it becomes this referral method. It becomes, but not paid referral, not bring me somebody and I'm giving you 10%, because that becomes buying a voice. So that, in a couple of short minutes there, that's what they'll teach you in a marketing school over 12 months. The art of telling a story so compelling people choose you. How do you own the voice? How do you buy the voice? And how do you earn the voice? And it's not about how much money you put into it, right? And understand that it's never been cheaper to market than what it is right now.
So beautiful, so eloquently put, and absolute marketing gold for anyone out there who's following this. So, mate, thanks very much for sharing that. That's wonderful. Over to the personal side now, mate. You mentioned you've been on your own personal journey, lost 70 kilos, which is amazing. What I love about it is not only the fact that someone can lose the weight, but more importantly, keep it off and be fit and healthy. So, can you just explain to us now, like you obviously been through the process of doing that. How do you feel now in terms of your wellness, your health and fitness and so forth?
Well, I was the most cocky, confident son of a bitch at 167 kilos of fine, right? I had
that's definitely the guy I met that day too.
I had a boxing match. I was good. I thought, and my weight became my hindrance, because it actually made me too confident. And then I thought, when people say, oh, you got to lose the weight because you can't do. And I thought, like, well, piss off, I can do. I can make it happen. I can tell you now that, I had a boxing match at 167 kilos. It was great, especially the guy opposite had abs and he had no chance. But I tell you, it was a lot easier at 91 kilos when I had my last fight. You feel different. And the key to it is you don't know what you don't know. And my wake-up call was my doctor, who I love dearly, and he's got some really, really, let's just say, comes with a no bedside manner. But, and I'll give you the clean version where he said, you're the fittest fat fuck I know, and trust me, that's the cleanest version I can give you. He said, for you, it'll be a cliff. You just won't wake up one day. And when you're 42 years old and someone says to you, you're just not waking up one day, there's no warning signs with you. There'll just be, you've got great heart rate, you've got no issues, but you're overweight, mate. And you're not just overweight, you're crazy. And I've known you for a long time. Yeah, you can box with anyone. Yeah, you can train. You've got a resting heartbeat in the 50s at your weight. But you're just not going to wake up one day. And I needed that. I needed someone to tell me, especially when you're doing well in business and people tell you what, they want to blow smoke up your rear end. And I had people that love me, like my wife. She loves me regardless, but she said, I'm worried about you, and you go, okay, Dale, I know you're worried, but everything's okay. I've got good life insurance. We've done all right, But then when you start to see that, okay, well, it's your kids that need you, and you start living as we all do. Yeah, you live for yourself, but you're living for more than just yourself. You're living for your partner. You're living for your kids and all the rest of it. It was a wake-up call. So number one is, and this will help people explain, you don't know what you don't know. And if you're not in that position, you won't know what it feels like to be in that position, right? You can offer advice, you can offer love, you can offer, the environment of support. But if you're not there, you don't know. And I can tell you what it is. Everyone needs something to spark them. And the spark for me would be different than the spark for somebody else, which would be the spark for somebody else. And you eat this shit for breakfast, Brad. You've saved thousands of lives and lost tons of weight for people.
Yep.
everyone needs a spark. There is something that sparks them, and the spark is not the same for everybody. It's not about buying nice clothes, and it might be for some, but not others. It's not about, for me, the spark came where the doctor, rude awakening, you're not going to wake up. The next spark came when I wanted to buy a Lamborghini, and I loved cars, and I was fortunate enough that, I love cars, I've been able to afford them. And I went to go and sit and I was so freaking uncomfortable, it wasn't funny. So I ordered that Lamborghini, and Anthony still tells the story. He's the manager down at Lamborghini. Yeah. He tells the story and he said, Phil Di Bella said, I'm not picking this car up till I lose 20 kilos. And so I gave myself a bit of a goal out there. Now, I didn't do it for the Lamborghini. I was still clear I had to do it for me. I did it because I didn't want to fall off that cliff. Yes. So the message in it, you don't know what you don't know. Everyone needs a spark to make it happen. And if you are overweight and you think you're amazing, I did too, you're going to feel even more amazing once you get your life. And it's not the weight. I treated the weight, and this is the point I really want to hammer home. The reason I would lose the weight, put it back on, I would train, da-da-da-da-da. When I shift my focus and said lifestyle and weight becomes a byproduct. So I get my lifestyle. So what I did is I treated my weight the same way I treated my business. I didn't do business to make money, right? I knew that if I got the business principles right, that I would make money. And the moment I applied it to my personal life and I went, hang on, you've got this wrong, Phil. Treat your life as a lifestyle. Give yourself more time. Don't not eat that pizza because you're punishing yourself. Don't eat that pizza because it's not healthy to eat the whole thing. Eat 2 slices of it. Don't eat that packet of lollies because, you can. Have a couple of lollies because the rest of the sugar is too much for you. So I started to treat it about life. Don't do exercise to lose weight. Do exercise because your heart's going to love you for it, et cetera, et cetera. And what happened was the byproduct became the weight and the weight dropped off and the rest of it. But I also use the resources around me. I eat more food now than I ever have. Right. And I know because I was keeping diaries then and I keep diaries now. I eat more food than I ever had, but I never had breakfast and lunch before, and I would dump at dinner and I would reward myself. I haven't eaten breakfast, haven't eaten lunch. I've trained this morning. I'm going to eat 2 pizzas. And so the problem became, how do I force myself to eat small? And one of the tools available was to go and get a gastric bypass. So I went and got my stomach size reduced. So now even if I want to eat a whole pizza, it ain't happening because it's coming out. And so I'm never been ashamed of telling people that I went and got help. Now there's people that have gone and had the same procedure but still haven't lost weight because they fill that space with crap. It actually is it's a brave thing to do. I've had over 10 mates of mine go and do it. It's worked for all of them bar one. Why? Because the mindset's right. They've treated it right. But it is a hard thing to do. It's a brave thing to do. But it's a resource. And if you use that resource right, it becomes successful. So that resource for me made me eat small and often. I had to retrain the way I ate. I had to be focused about it. And I still am very disciplined. I don't eat a lot of sugar. I don't eat a lot of sweets. I fill my stomach with good stuff. And sure, I like to have some lollies here and there or whatever, but I'm not focused on that. And I don't treat it that I'm missing out. I treat it as lifestyle.
So good, man. Such great advice and so many great insights, mate. We could continue all day with all this, and but for those of you who are tuning into Train HQ, we're going to be very privileged to have Phil come down to the Gold Coast at our big end of year event. And you're going to be presenting live in person there, sharing your story again. So I'm pumped up for that. So, mate, just wanted to say a deep thank you to, not only from myself but from all the Trainer HQ community, that someone who's been in business, who's achieved so much, comes and gives up their time in the benefit of others. When I asked, just to share everyone the story, when I asked Phil about this, it was everything's been a yes. Yep. Hey, mate, I'd love to get you. Yep. Mate, would you be open to? Yep. And it reminds me back in, I used to run the Peak Physique business underneath the roof of Healthworks on the river, a gym down at Tenerife. And I heard about your name, I reckon when you first launched, probably back in 02, 03, and the owner there said they had a cycling team. And again, I'm not sure if you remember this. But
I do.
Met this great guy, Phillip Di Bella. He started up this new coffee company, and we put the coffee into, they had a little cafe there, and he sponsored the cycling team. He's doing this. Oh, man, this guy's awesome. You know what I mean? And back in the day, you would have been early startup then. And again, back to the concept of just giving out and getting yourself out there. So, mate, all that stuff, it really rings true, and we get to hear it in person, and more importantly, the people who come to the event at the end of the year will get to see it in the flesh as well. So,
yeah, I look forward to it. Like I said, to me, if everyone does a little bit and everyone gives a little bit, and I'm very philanthropic about that, not just with money but with time. If everyone does a little bit, and as you said, I did it back from when I was a startup. Obviously I can give more now than what I could then, but I still gave. My dad, it's something of my dad. My dad brought up a family with $450 a week. and he still used to give his $20 to the Heart Foundation, and he still does, and he's on a pension. Heart Foundation, Leukemia Foundation, 4 or 5 charities, he gives them a little bit.
Yep.
And he said to me, if everyone does a little bit, not just with money, but with their time, and I think with COVID, we need to remember this, we need to care for ourselves, and we need to care for each other. And if everyone shows a little bit more care, if everyone looks after the person next to them a little bit better and wants to be in service, then let the rest take care of itself. And I'll finish on this note, Brad, from my perspective, because I can talk all day. It's an opportunity for all our kids. So not only for ourselves, but anyone that's got kids, to bring our kids up to be part of the change we want to see in the world, which is Gandhi's words. I'm not wise enough, but I love those words. Bring them up to be, and I live my life to be part of the change I want to see, but bringing them up to be in service. Because what's being lost and the opportunity that is for our kids is for every kid that doesn't want to be in service, there's an opportunity for somebody who does, wanting to be in service. And that doesn't matter whether it's holding the door open for somebody, whether it's opening a business and providing a service to someone or buying someone a cup of coffee because they can't afford it. It doesn't matter what it is. But if we breed that natural culture of wanting to be in service and being part of the change we want to see, then I'll tell you, we're going to build a better community, a better society, and a better country.
Love it, man. Love it. Thank you very much, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm just really grateful.
Thank you. Thanks, Brad.
Awesome.